It's almost been a week since the opening night of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and the internet's had some time to stew on whether the movie was any good or not. It's not doing all that well critically speaking, but as a diehard fan of the Mario series, I feel that it's my civic duty to give my 2 cents about how I thought the movie turned out compared to what my expectations were. When I first walked out of the theater after seeing it, you could say I was pretty disappointed. The writing hadn't gone in the direction I'd wanted or expected it to. Some of the characters weren't exactly as I had pictured them, and overall I was feeling pretty let down. As I was driving home that night and brainstorming for this video, the one word that really seemed to sum up everything I was feeling about the Mario movie was irony. Some of the characters that I was looking forward to seeing on screen ended up being kind of disappointing, and characters that the internet wasn't really excited to see ended up carrying the film for the most part. This is my review of the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Hope you guys enjoy. My first issue, I think, comes from what can really only be called false advertising from the trailers. One of the, if not the, most anticipated character from this film was Bowser. People were a little confused when they first heard that Jack Black was going to be voicing him, but then we got that first teaser, and everyone was blown away. He sounded intimidating, terrifying, pure evil, and everybody was really excited for this new version of Bowser because it's not really a side of him we've gotten to experience before. He's definitely a threat in the mainline games, but since those games have such little dialogue, you never really get to see him exuding those character traits, except in like the snippet of dialogue he'll say right before you fight him. Then there's the other side of the Mario game coin, where you have the spin-offs with the RPGs like Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi. In those games, where there is a lot of dialogue and story progression, Bowser's usually painted in the other light, where he's more humorous and lighthearted, and generally just a blowhard. Now, I'm not saying that one version is necessarily better than the other. My issue comes from the fact that we were expecting a certain version of Bowser. We were shown from the trailers that we were getting a dialed-up version of Bowser's mainline game appearance, where he's the final boss, the ultimate threat, and everyone was really hyped for it. I remember hearing people say that even though they were disappointed with Chris Pratt's interpretation of Mario, they knew that they would still have Bowser to look forward to. Then we got like 15 minutes into the movie, and everything was completely flipped upside down. They introduced the plot point that Bowser was trying to marry Peach. And again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's been handled well in the past. I feel like they handled it decently well in the movie. But watching it, I was having a hard time accepting the fact that this was the Bowser we were getting. It came completely out of the blue, and while it was entertaining, and Jack Black still did a phenomenal job voicing him, it's ironic that the one character everyone was excited to see in the movie, and how they were loving the darker tone he was given, ended up being mostly a joke. I feel like Illumination and Nintendo were trying to strike a balance between the two different sides of Bowser that we were used to seeing in the games. However, I think what we got in the end was a Bowser that leaned a little too far into the funnier aspects of his character, without compensating for this by giving him moments to show the more villainous aspects as well. I think the best way to summarize it is to say that Bowser was really a missed opportunity. They had a chance to break new ground and really give us an in-depth look at a side of him that we really haven't seen before. This is a theme you'll see a lot throughout my review. So many aspects of the Mario movie had room for improvement. In their original state, they weren't bad by any means. But if the directors had ironed out a few more wrinkles in the production, maybe ordered a couple more drafts of the story, more on that later, maybe have given the movie 15 more minutes of runtime, we could have had a masterpiece, and I'm not exaggerating, a masterpiece on our hands. Now, with that out of the way, here's my main problem with the Super Mario movie we ended up getting. The writing was fundamentally flawed. Now hang on, let me explain. I'm not saying that we should have gotten some crazy, complex, deep story, like maybe what you'd see from a fan fiction. I liked the simplistic nature of the Mario movie story. It was true to the game while still being something that worked well in a movie. It could be both appreciated by diehard fans and people who had played a Mario game or two but weren't really all that invested in the series. It also worked for different age levels. You know what didn't work for different age levels? The writing. To really explain, I'm gonna have to take a detour and talk about how the movie handled Princess Peach. Honestly, the movie interpreted Peach pretty well for the most part. They took some liberties with her character, giving her more of a kick-butt go-getter personality, instead of the damsel in distress role that she has in the Mario games. I appreciate them taking the time to create a Peach that works better in a movie with a story. In the final product, she exudes those personality traits well. But if you're like above elementary school, it's gonna be pretty hard to appreciate any of these touches when you listen to how she was written. Princess Peach is by far the worst written character in the entire movie. Let me explain. This is what I meant when I said the script needed a few more drafts. I understand that at its heart, the Mario movie is a kid's movie. I understand that because of this, there's not gonna be as much exposition or complexity in how the characters interact and think. Here's an example. When Mario decides that he and Luigi are gonna save Brooklyn from all the flooding, his motivation is pretty clear. His family just told him that he was a complete failure, and he was desperate for an opportunity to prove himself. This is completely logical. If you'd just been told that you're nothing, of course you'd want a chance to prove those people wrong. This is a normal, traceable thought process. You know what's not? When you're the princess of a kingdom whose fate is being threatened by an army of evil turtles who want to wipe out your land, and you need to make a dangerous expedition to gain the assistance of another army who's potentially hostile toward you, that you would automatically enlist the help of a short human and an ordinary toad to come with you just because they want to come with you. Why does that make any sense? Peach's original interaction with Mario is painfully short and to the point. It looked like they were going somewhere, with Peach's comment that Mario was another human because I guess she'd never seen another human before. That could have been really compelling, but for some reason they just swept it under the rug almost as fast as it was brought up in the first place. Their dialogue is Dora the Explorer level complexity. And what's worse is this is how almost all of Peach's interactions go. There's a problem, she almost instantly comes up with a solution, and they give us none of her thought process behind it. Again, I understand that this is a kid's movie, and they don't want to bore anybody with unnecessary dialogue. And yet somehow, they've managed to hit the other extreme. They give us so little dialogue and story progression that it's kind of insulting to both us watching and the characters involved. Mario and Peach's dynamic could have been really compelling. I wish that maybe they'd made her more suspicious of Mario when he first arrives, instead of how she just takes him to the obstacle course after he tells her that his brother's in danger. It would have been really cool to see her question Mario about who he was, where he came from, and how he got here. And it would have led perfectly into another plot point they quickly dismissed. Where did Peach come from? They brought this up while everybody was in the Fireflower field. Peach talked about how she only remembered coming into the Mushroom Kingdom and had no clue what her original home was. It's little moments like this that, if given a few more minutes of screen time, could have made the film so much more compelling and interesting for those older viewers watching. For me, it's honestly kinda hard to appreciate all the things this movie did well, the stunning visuals, the phenomenal voice acting, when the writing doesn't really consider an audience above a certain age and comprehension level. It's also really confusing. Apparently, this movie had over 5 years of development time, and you're trying to tell me that in that entire period, nobody looked at the script and said, hang on, this part seems a little off. We should probably give this character a few more lines to explain what's going on. And again, I want to stress the fact that I'm not saying the movie needed to be more complex. It didn't need to have some deep underlying morals about bravery or proving yourself or something. It just needed to account for an audience who wanted a more satisfying story progression. I want to wrap up this video by stressing the fact that I did not hate the Mario movie. I have some nitpicks, I have some complaints, but on the whole, it was solid in all areas besides the writing. The visuals, some of the best I've ever seen in an animated movie. Every shot was packed with detail, and all the references they included, those were handled perfectly as well. Nothing felt over the top, except for Jack Black singing, but that's okay because it was hilarious. And there were plenty of satisfying aha moments when you catch a detail that somebody hid deep in the shadow of a scene. The music, on the whole, excelled in this. In the opening shot, you could hear the Mario 3 airship theme as Bowser crept over the Ice Kingdom. When everybody got on Rainbow Road, you could hear the SNES Rainbow Road theme, remixed to be more dramatic. Even in Brooklyn, when Mario and Luigi were fixing the condo's plumbing, if you listen closely, you could make out the Mario 3 Overworld theme playing on a record in the background. There weren't as many musical references as I would have liked, but I think that's just me, because I'm particularly a nerd when it comes to video game soundtracks. With my expectations out of the way, I'm looking forward to seeing the movie one more time in theaters and really appreciating all the care that was put into it. It may not have been exactly what I wanted, and it may not have been that great of a movie critically speaking, but it was made for the fans. It was made for me, and I feel like I should honor Nintendo by giving credit where credit is due. They managed to craft a video game movie that embraced the elements of the games it was based off of. The world building was phenomenal, and even if the writing isn't quite where I wanted it to be, they managed to make a decent movie that didn't ignore the source material from the original games. Unlike some other video game movies, but that's a topic for another time. I'll end the video by saying this. Thank you, Nintendo and Illumination, for giving us a movie that, while not perfect, honored us, honored the fans, and honored the legacy of one of the most influential video game series on the face of the earth. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. It was a ton of work. I'm pretty sure I've watched about 5 hours of Mario movie trailer footage at this point. Liking and subbing really helps support the channel, but overall, I want to know how you guys enjoyed the video. Comment down below with your thoughts, opinions, maybe you enjoyed the movie, maybe everything I just said was completely wrong. Please let me know. This has been Lemon Cake Studios. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I'll see you in the next one.